Howdy, 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 and thank you for joining me tonight, folks. Tonight we're going to have a continuation of last Sunday. We're going to be talking about a lot of the problems that are going on as it pertains to the city of Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Police Department, and a lot of the what appears to be more than just coincidental amounts of bias that are brought about on the protesters. Pretty much anyone that has to deal with the LAPD that is anti-Scientology. We're also going to talk about a lot of different things tonight. We're still waiting. We're waiting on Jeffrey Augustine to join us. He hasn't signed in yet. Hope everything's okay with him. My goodness, we've been painting, so we got plastic up everywhere, and you pretty much touch anything, you're covered with dust right now. Let's see who all we got in here tonight. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of chat. Diana Marie, Laura Waldy, Mandy Gonzalez, Colonel Brock, Mandy Beach. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Canadian Girl. Right. Denise H. Just running through this real quick. Indigo Twin. Cynthia LeBeau. Hey, how you doing? Mischief Managed. All right. Oh, Selena's here. Welcome, Selena. Lisa Robinson with that beautiful lab in the picture there. Journey 2020, Cooler by the Lake. All right, it looks like I'm hitting pretty much everybody. Best Coast Life, that's a pretty cool name. I like that. Oh, Mona Fat Grammy's here. Welcome, Mona. All right. Oh, Chitza from Balaama's here. Welcome, Chitza. Oh, Carrie Ann's here. Welcome, Carrie Ann. And let's see, Phyllis Vance. And the list keeps growing. So, got a lot to go over. And same as last week, bringing in some folks that I know I can depend on. We can have fair and honest discussions about these things. And we also come in with knowledge about what we're talking about. And so when we're talking about Scientology, we're talking about OSA, those kinds of things. We need an actual OSA member joining us. Please welcome one of my partners in crime, my brother from another mother, Mr. Clearwater Chad. What's up, Chad?
Hey, Poe, thanks for having me. How you doing, Poe?
Doing good, doing good. Are you having a good Father's Day?
Absolutely, Poe. How was yours?
It's good. You know, family was over here. Everything, we're getting stuff done, getting ready for the kids. Mama and I are preparing to get into the whole camper life and all that stuff. So kids are going to come back in, take care of the house, and we'll be pretty much, after a while, we'll have the new truck, the new camper and everything going, and we're going to be living life on the road probably 6 months out of the year. Excellent. And so we're preparing for all that. Spent the day, we've been painting, getting everything ready for us and all that. So did you have the boy over today?
Yeah, sure did. You just left about an hour ago.
That's good. That's good. So when we're talking about these things, folks, another thing that, you want experience, you want someone who's been there, you want someone who's going to be knowledgeable about certain things. He's been on the channel numerous times. I consider him part of the channel now himself. Great guy. He is a retired deputy sheriff from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Please welcome my good friend, Sir Crepitus.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. How you guys doing?
Doing good tonight. How are you doing?
Very good. Yeah, I noticed Chad has a little bit of a swagger to him these days. I like it.
Yeah. What's going on there, Chad?
Oh, just classing it up a little bit.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, those lives that you've been doing have had me just looking at the thumbnails of them alone. They've had me pretty much about ready to cry. They're so funny. I mean, I just got to pull them up and show everybody because they're so daggone funny. It's not even a joke.
Thanks. Well, people have been learning a lot from them.
It's amazing. The one that I saw that absolutely just floored me. Oh shoot, I can't pull up. I'll just have to. The first one that I saw that absolutely floored me was Chris Shelton lectures on the history of dust. And I was just like, I saw that, I almost spit my coffee across the living room. I about peed myself laughing at that. That was so funny. And then the one you did that was last night. I was about to say, you've been doing enough of them, haven't you?
I know. Yeah, we're hitting it hard every night. It wasn't last night's Dirt. I think we did the history of Dirt.
Yeah, the history. Then you did the one. What was it? The history
We
of
did.
loose leaf paper.
Yep, we did. We've been doing ladder
Oh
safety
my
too,
god.
and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it those just floored me seeing those thumbnails on it because I mean, you know, I had considered Chris a friend. I don't even know what the status is anymore. I haven't heard from him. He hasn't said anything to me since this whole big thing with the Aftermath Foundation and all that's come just actually just tearing apart. So I don't know what's going on with all that stuff, but I mean, it's funny stuff, Chad. It's really funny.
He's not happy about those videos, but that's another day for another story.
Well, life goes on. Life goes on. People make fun of me all the time, and I don't throw a hissy fit about it. It's fact is people say things about me, they make fun of me, they do mock videos of me, they take content, edit it, and try to use it for their own stuff. And I don't care. It doesn't bother me. So we're starting off already with a question from Indigo Twin. COS tried to use a permit to prevent protesters from using public sidewalks easements. The permit they presented had part of the document cropped off. Isn't it illegal to alter the documents? Sir Crepitus, would you know about that?
Yeah, let me read this question again. I'm sorry.
All right. You got your sped red glasses on?
Yeah. I questioned the permit. No, they can't get permits to close off the easements because cars park along those curbs and passengers need to be able to get out.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling they may have a permit of some kind, but it's not for that. So it'd be interesting to look that up. I guess I should go do that at some point.
Well, I mean, the thing is that they can present any kind of document they want or not, but whether or not that document they're presenting is legal. Plus, if you're going to try to use that and hand it over to the police and say, this is the reality, this is our document, you have to let us do this, and it's modified, I, as a police officer, I wouldn't accept it. So It's got to be 100% legit. Well,
that's because you were an honest police officer, John.
True. We got to be careful what we say. We've got us a little bit of a con man in there. I hear he likes to dress up as other people from time to time. So,
Jerry.
Yeah, he does like to dress and drag once in a while, doesn't he?
I've heard that, but that's his lifestyle.
It's okay.
We can't say nothing to him. Hey, Jerry, how you doing, brother? Let's see. This from Indigo Twin, and folks, both of these from Indigo Twin are perfect examples. Yeah. If you got a question or a comment, all caps, question or comment, and then just take off your caps lock after that. Because what they did was put down plastic fencing on grass, which would make it unsafe for people to get out of their cars. I saw that. That was almost like the green netting they were putting out there. I'd be really interested to see what kind of authorization they got for that. I can understand that you can do it for landscaping purposes, those kinds of things, but you've got to have break points where people can get in and out of their vehicles, things like that. Yeah, those are that was something I was going to bring up. There's a couple other things they're doing. Absolutely, Jason. But which permit would they show? They have several event permits going on at the same time. Well, that's the thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that other one up. That's the thing, Jason, is that when you look at things, and as we were talking to Jeffrey last week, and we were talking about the fact that they have so many different components to Scientology out there, all these different groups can get permits, and they're not violating the rule that says you can't, one organization, one individual, whatever, can't have any more than X amount of permits to do work around their property. And so the way around that is well, no, that was the Celebrity Center, which is its own entity. This one is Author Services. This one is International Association. Each one of them are pulling their own, and it gets really hard to keep on top of how many they've got. I'm sorry, Miss Sunrise Dawn. I didn't mean. Well, I mean, I like liver and onions, so I don't know what chopped liver's got to do with that. I like foie gras. I also enjoy, what do they call that stuff that you buy in the roll? That's the ground up liver.
Liverwurst.
Liverwurst, Braunschweiger. Love that stuff. Oh yeah,
Limburger cheese.
That's good fishing food right there. Let's see. Joe Gurr's comment. I was curious as to what happens when the city comes to mow the grass on the easement. What do you think about that, Sir Crepitus?
Well, kind of like residential areas, you have these easements along the curb, and technically that part is owned by the city, but you can plant stuff in it, and you're responsible for maintaining the grass. So really,
I've always found that interesting is that you don't own the easement, but you're responsible for maintaining it, and that's pretty much everywhere I've ever been.
Yeah,
and I've just always found that really interesting that I can't own it, but I have to keep it up.
Yeah,
that's just like a catch-22.
I'm sorry. Yeah, what I was waiting for was for some poor soul to exit the passenger side of the car and trip on that stuff and break a bone or something like that. Who's going to be responsible for that?
Yeah. And let's see, Mona says there is an encroachment permit they need, which isn't part of any of the event permits. Very interesting. And folks, if you don't know, Mona's been on here numerous times. She's another member of the channel. She studies this stuff and she knows it. She's come up with some amazing ideas on how to combat Scientology that are, I just can't wait till we can actually start talking about this stuff because it is incredible. Let's see. Brock, same here. The city doesn't mow the easement here. And in every city I've ever lived in, the city does not mow the easement. But if you let that grass get over 6.5 inches tall, you're probably going to end up looking at a ticket for it. And a lot of cities nowadays, they're using things like ordinance enforcement, traffic enforcement, those kinds of things to be able to turn around and raise revenue for the cities. So they're real happy to do that. And that's correct. Kim Wexler's ponytail. Scientology don't have to abide by the rules. Well, apparently they feel they don't have to by some of the stuff that's going on. The thing is that what we've got to start doing is we've got to start holding the authorities responsible. We've got to start going through now. Who hands Secrepitus? Who hands out the permits there? Is it the clerk's office? Is there a special permit unit? I don't know how Los Angeles is.
I'm not familiar with LA City too much, but I mean, generally the process would be they go to City Hall and they would usually go to either, well, in some cities it'd be code enforcement, other cities it may be the city engineer. Then some cities have an actual permits department that people can go to. So LA City being as big as they are, I would think that they'd have their own permits department for stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll explain this to you, Colonel Brock, where you're saying the city to cut down a dead tree in the easement, no charge. The reason why they're going to do that is because the city is going to be responsible if that tree comes down and causes damage, injury, anything like that. So that's why they'll come in and they'll take care of that real quick for you because they know they're going to be responsible if something happens there. Try cutting that tree down on your own and see what happens. That's going to be crazy. Circus Rider, I think that pretty much everybody fills out their own permits. They just have to be approved and stamped by the governing agency that's going to allow it. Most cities nowadays, you can go in online and pull up the permit that you need, fill it out digitally right there on your own computer, submit it digitally, and then they'll let you know if it's been approved. If it's been approved, then you go in and you get an actual printed out copy of it. And it's interesting stuff. Then, Brock, what you're talking about with all the trees and stuff like that, it's not just the city. You've got like the utility companies will come in, and even if it's your property, you've been taking care of all your own stuff. They could they could come here to my house and go in my backyard and go, hey, this tree you got back here behind your house, it's impacting our service lines. So we've got to trim it out. And I saw, like, at my brother's house, what they did to take care of the tree that the lines were going through. They literally cut a big V shape right out of the top of his tree in his backyard. It looked like that thing had some kind of rot or something going on. That just looked horrible. Let's see, making sure we don't have any. Well, it's very possible. Very possible nowadays in this age of technology, Photoshop and things like that. It's very easy to fake permits and all those. So I would not be surprised. As a matter of fact, Grammy, if you are interested, I'm going to send you the link in an email, and you come on in and join us, because you know a lot of these things, and I want to have you come in and give us some help here on some of these things. Normally we'd have Jeffrey in here, and he's like the guru of this kind of stuff. Let's see, Phyllis Vance, Jessica Palmadesto, am I saying it right? Palmadessa tried all kinds of ways to get a permit. All she got was a runaround. I'm not surprised. She isn't paying enough money, is she? That's the way I feel about it, is that it seems like if you're donating stuff, money like crazy, bringing in their people and putting them up on stage at your big Christmas festivals and things like that, you'll get all the response and attention that you want. But you let just a common person try to do something like that, and they're going to end up with a whole bunch of problems and never end up getting what they want. And the troublemaker has arrived. Howdy.
Hello. I'm trying to make it to where. Hello.
We hear you. You're coming in
Can you
loud
hear
and
us?
clear. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. You're coming in loud and clear. So 5 by 5 did you guys ever use that terminology in the sheriff's department, Sir Crepitus? 5 by 5?
You know what? No. We never did.
Well, I'll give you an idea. It was probably about 15 years before I retired. All of the departments got notice that the state police was no longer going to be using 10 codes on anything. And they were requesting that departments stop using them as well.
Yeah. Our department still uses them. Yeah. 10-1 was you sound like crap, and 10-2 was we copy you fine. So I just always use 10-1 or 10-2 for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we stopped using those a long time. Some guys still used them. I mean, but we started going over to more of the state police way, that they the nomenclature that they were using, Roger that, those kinds of things, instead of the 10-4s and all that.
Yeah.
Bikers taking down Scientology. So if someone falls on the green netting and gets impaled by one of those sticks, who is responsible, COS or the city? And that's something that I think an attorney would be better suited at saying. But I know that from cases that I've seen where people have fallen on an easement, they've ended up suing both the homeowner's insurance and they've sued the city. But from my understanding is most points is that the easement is owned by the city, although as the property owner that it butts up to, you're responsible for the care and maintenance of it. So
Mr. John Poe, Mr. Popo, on the question from Jessica Palmadessa is there are several different types of permits. Okay. And Jessica Palmadessa, from what I gathered and looked at, she was trying to get a permit to have a protest.
Oh, okay.
She was closing the road off for a protest, and that's a completely different type of permit. And then you have your building permits, you have your encroachment permits, and then you have your special events permits. Right. And the special events permits are done through the BOSS system, BOSS. I'm not too sure exactly what that stands for. But that's who that goes through. And she went through trying to get a protest permit instead of a special events permit. So that probably is the reason why there was a difference.
Yeah. Good for her for trying.
Yeah. I no downplay on that one. That's a great idea. Problem is when you start getting into these kinds of things, like I said, you go in as a private citizen for the most part, trying to get the permit. as compared to an entity that's dumping tens of thousands of dollars into the city.
Yeah.
Well, not into the city, but into the different bureaus and departments within the city. Who's going to get the first look?
Right. And you would think that somebody in the city clerk's office or the permit office would have said, hey, you might want to try this. Instead, they just gave her the runaround and said, no, the police do it. No, they do it. And I think it was because nobody was using all the right words and the special,
And
bibbly bobbity boo.
If you don't know the verbiage and the things that are needed for that, that's where these kinds of things can be a problem for you. That's because a lot of these require certain verbiage. They require you to say things a different way. That's why I have a problem with our court system. Our court system is designed to where if you're not an attorney, you're going to get lost in the landslide of all the verbiage. And it works a lot of the same way when it comes to permits and things like that. If you're not a contractor, you're not a company that does, different kinds of work, you're not a business that's used to filing for these permits, you can just the wrong period, the wrong comma, and that's all they need to deny you for it. Indigo Twin, what is an encroachment permit, and is that different from trespassing? Any one of you want to jump in on that one?
Do you want me to get an encroachment permit? Is for if you're going to put a fence up, if you're going to do any work, if you're going to put any barriers up for a special event in the easement. An encroachment permit is an easement permit.
And I know like what we dealt with was encroachment permits. It went to give you an idea, folks, as the administrative lieutenant for my department, I did all of the registries for the offenders that had to come in and register every year or every 6 months. I did all of the firearms permits. I did, there was a ton of things I did. And a lot of the things that I also did was permits as they handicap parking permits. We even did like block party permits where they would come in and they would want to hold a block party and they would shut down a block within the city and have this big community party. And they were awesome things to go to. So, one of the things that we had to deal with was encroachment permits as well. And I wasn't the one who approved most of these, like the block party ones I approved, the handicap stuff, they would come through me for that. But when it came to others that would have to go to the building department, but they had to send them to me first, make sure that there was no legal problems with the police department with it. Encroachments dealt with the easements and doing some kind of construction or right of way that is city or state owned property. And that's what the easement would be. So encroachment is basically dealing with being able to work on that easement or actually doing work that's going to affect the roadway. Say you want to put a new driveway in, you've got to be able to block off to cut out to put that driveway in, and it's going to affect the traffic on the roadway. That would be something for an encroachment. Those are the kinds of things you're looking at with it. Phyllis Vance had a question here. Why do you think they have not been using LAPD as security lately? Because they have illegal permits? Question mark. So Grapitus, what do you think about that?
Well, it doesn't seem like they've had a whole lot of activity at the events or a lot of activity at these so-called events that they've been having there. It's been very few people. I know they had a bounce house there, and they had a few kids running around, but I didn't really recognize anything as an actual organized event.
Okay. Yeah,
I kind of take it as a little bit of maybe what we're doing with the LAPD and the OIG, that it's starting to have a little bit of an effect.
That's
because we've never not seen them hire LAPD. It's always been LAPD. This is the last couple of weeks. They've been slowly only having third party. I think it's Allied that they've been hiring.
Yeah, they're using outsourced or corporate private security for the events. And I'm gonna mirror what Mona said there. Is I think that there's a lot of focus being put on LAPD, the city of Los Angeles, especially with the impact on the OIG, that there may be they may be taking second looks at a lot of these different things, and might also think that Scientology itself is kind of questioning, maybe we need to back off on this a little bit, because it clearly looks like there's a bias going on here. Let's see, me to you, California Coast. It's clear cops protect Scientology may need those that live there or go to city council, the mayor who is in charge of the cops. I want to hear from both Mona and Sir Crepitus on this one. So whichever one of you want to go first, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. Yeah, over the decades, there have been a lot of residents around that area that have gone to city council meetings, but I think a lot of them are reluctant just because they know the nature of Scientology. But what makes today different is that Scientology is not as litigious as they used to be. They're picking their battles wisely now. So it would be good if the residents around there could recognize that and maybe start doing that stuff again. I know there's been a lot of protesters, Streets LA, Jessica Palmadessa and, Michael, and a lot of protesters have been going to these meetings, and it's great. I love to see that. But they're not local residents over there. So I don't know how much the city council is actually listening to them. It's a great effort, and they should continue to do that if that's what they want to do, because it's still bringing awareness. But I think it really is important for the local residents to really get in there and start getting involved again.
And Mona, what are your thoughts?
I ditto, and also that as your neighborhoods, what do you want your neighborhood to look like? If you want your neighborhood to look like the way it's been, then don't do anything. But if you want change, you better get your butt in there and make a change.
And my thoughts on it is that I think one thing that I think that there certainly is a change that is coming about. As you saw with Mona, with the OIG and the things that are going on with that, they're taking a notice. And Mona, you're not in LA by any means. So, I wouldn't look at it as a matter of, not being a citizen. But I think one thing that may play into it is that you're not an active protester out there. I think that also will play into it, because I can tell you from personal experience, you have someone who does things like that are protesters. Oftentimes the city management, the administration, those kinds of things, they don't care. They'll let you go ahead and say what you got to say at the meetings and all that, but it's not going to have an effect. But when you've got people coming in, bringing receipts, bringing in real-time information about things that are going on and violations on the city's part, that's when they start taking a little more notice, because to them, you've got someone who's from outside of their scope who is watching what's going on, then that tells them that there's more people that are watching as well. So,
right. And to be real honest, in the first couple of meetings of putting that OIG meeting together, where I brought people in, I did invite Streets, I did invite DOA, I did invite Mindy. There were several people that were there at first, and then I had to tighten the reins and tighten that circle of influence, because for as much as I love watching Streets, there's absolutely no way that he would have been respected in a one-on-one meeting like that because of his volatility.
Okay. That's a real interesting. Yeah. And that's something else you have to think about, folks. If you're going to go into these meetings, you can't go in emotional in these kinds of meetings. We're talking about bureaucrats. We're not talking about cops on the street. We're not talking about actual protesting to other people that are out there. These are bureaucrats that are coming in to have a professional meeting. And if you come in, you start getting emotional and yet loud about things. And believe me, 100%. I love a lot of what Streets does. I think Streets is amazing. And if he'd be able to go in and have those meetings like that, awesome. But you want to make sure that you're bringing in your A game on these things, and you want to bring in receipts, and you want to bring in how this affects. One of the things I said, Mona, when we were talking about the first time about this stuff was you've got to, when you showed how this financially impacts the city, that's a big thing that bureaucrats look at. And
Right.
you're going to start getting into a lot of boring kind of material, but that's the stuff that turns their heads. Amy N, no ambulance or first aid squad at a festival for kids. Never been to a festival without one. I can tell you from my experience here, and I'm going to ask Sir Crepitus in a second there. I know that anytime anyone wants to hold a festival in any city or jurisdiction like that, they're required to have medical response. When I was doing the mixed martial arts promotions, one of the things that a lot of cities required of me, not just my insurance company, but the cities that I was doing these events at, I was required to have an ambulance on hand. So, and it didn't matter if it was a city ambulance or it was one of those contracted ambulance services, that as long as it was a state licensed ambulance service, we had to have one on hand. What are your experiences with that?
Yeah, absolutely. LA County is a big county. I've worked several stations, and it was the same everywhere. If the city was hosting a festival, or even if it was a private festival, there had to be emergency personnel. Aside from law enforcement, there had to be at least minimum an ambulance with a crew there, or paramedics had to be there. Always, that was a requirement. And that's a very good observation on Amy M's point.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
Sir Crepitus, I'm sending something in private chat there. If you could take a look at it for me. Here's from Indigo with Indigo Twin. With the increase in protests, what's the probability of OSA going after smaller channels versus larger ones like Laura, Surge, etc.? I want to hear your guys' thoughts first. Chad, what do you think?
Sorry, I was looking at the private message too. Sorry, what was the question?
I thought, Sir Crepitus. That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. It says, with the increase in protests, the probability of OSA going after the smaller channels.
Oh, I think in my opinion, I think they're at their limits I think they're understaffed. I don't think they could. That's just my opinion, because I haven't noticed anything from them.
Well, I mean, you report directly to them. You should know.
I know, right?
That's why they're not messing with them.
True.
And Sir Crepitus, your thoughts?
If this was back in the anonymous days, I would say they'd be going after everybody, including the smaller channels, because they did it to me.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't even really have much of a YouTube channel back then. I had a handful of handmade videos that I put up, and they weren't even very good. But I did.
We all start.
Yep.
I did attend a lot of protests, and yeah, they came after me hard, really hard.
Wow.
I mean, they went after my career, with falsified evidence and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And Mona, what do you think?
I've been getting a lot of hits on my Facebook account. Somebody tried to get into my Amazon account. Somebody's been trying to get into my Google emails.
And one more thing.
I don't give them that much credit, but then again, if they have nothing better to do, it's probably them.
Yeah.
They're just going to figure out I have a very boring life.
And that's the thing. Like with me, I've spoken about it so many times now, with the private investigators, the attempts to hack into my computer. The filing the FOIAs with my former employers, and I know that a new batch of FOIAs were just received by them. So I think that anybody who presents an opposition is fair game to them. Yeah. But I think that there's so much dissension in the ranks right now within this whole anti-Scientology community. There's so much infighting. They can literally sit back, put their feet up on the desk, and let it coast out on its own right now. Let people destroy themselves within their own group. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. We need to focus on what is important and what we're trying to do, and that is bring down Scientology. And all this other stuff, how is that in any way helping the cause?
Yeah.
So we need to be mindful of that. And I know a lot of people have allegiances and things like that. Um, that's the thing is that there's a lot of people that have allegiances one way or another, and you're going to tend to lean those ways. But we still have to remember that we have a central target that we're going for. We want to see the stop of SA of children. We want to see the stopping of abuse of children. We want to see the stopping of the abuse of the elderly. We want to see all these different bad things that Scientology is known for doing. And we bring the receipts in the form of Serge Delmar. We bring the receipts in the form of Oh No Nora. We bring the receipts in the form of Liz Ferris. We bring the receipts in the form of Miriam Francis. And the list goes on and on and on. So, I mean, it's like the old saying, one person says that you smoke a certain rock substance, that's that one person saying it. If 50 people say you're saying it, you might be smoking that substance. So, you just can't. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was going to wait till you were done.
Okay.
Yeah, I one thing I wanted to add too, and Chad's point was very good, is that they're stretched so thin right now with everything going on.
Yeah.
I could see them doing some data collection, like investigating people, finding out who we are, and holding on to it for maybe a rainy day. But I can't see them going after everybody right now, as far as fair game goes.
And I also have to question, now that I know things about a certain person who's been doing a lot of things to, that I know about their history and the fact and some of the stuff they've done in their past. Now that I have new FOIAs coming out against me, trying to find out about my work history, my medical history, things like that through my employers, I'm starting to wonder, is that actually OSA, or is that someone within our own community who is doing these things?
Yep.
And it was presented to me that a certain person who has a blog that they like to put out, apparently that was one of the things that they had done in the past. And then you have Rabbit showing the receipts where you have people having a discussion about finding out whether or not Rabbit's licensed in a certain state or not, and filing complaints if they are, to try to get their licensing taken away. How does that in any way affect Scientology? It makes it easier for them. So if you say that you're fighting Scientology and you're going after people who are fighting Scientology and you're trying to harm them, aren't you helping Scientology?
Right.
So I'm at the point now where any of the stuff that comes in, I don't know who to think where it comes from. And I've been targeted pretty good. Chad and I got followed in daggone Clearwater.
Absolutely.
So, this stuff, it happens.
You're
And
you're jogging. Oh, so I'll wait till you're done, Paul.
yeah. And I don't think it matters what size your channel is. As I was told when it first started with me, a lot of people said this is happening. A lot of people in the know said this is happening because of your association with Aaron Smith Levin. All right. So the thing is I didn't turn my back on Aaron. This is how it is. I accepted the fact that this stuff could happen when I started doing this. So go ahead, Chad.
Oh, you kind of jogged my memory, because I won't say the guy's name, but the original troll that we dealt with, even back before anyone was split, his girlfriend's channel, they actually doxed my real name on the air. And so you're right about it's people from our own, I won't say community because they're not, but so
Right.
it is people, so I do believe you.
And you know what? I mean, it wasn't that hard. I mean, all you had to do was switch it from Clearwater Chad to Chad Clearwater, and then
That's
they
true.
have your actual name. So,
That's true.
I mean, we're not doxing you because it's already happened. And Sir Crepitus is probably going to be best for you. How are LAPD allowed to not do a PPA if one is requested? And if you want to explain what a PPA is for those who don't know.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question too. And so PPA means private person's arrest. Anybody can make one. So if somebody were to go to my page or to my YouTube channel, go to the community tab and scroll down, I actually have a kind of a tutorial on how the private party arrests work. So prior to 2003, police officers were required by law to accept all private persons' arrests, no matter what. Even if the officer thought it was not a good arrest, they were required to take them. Ninth Circuit Court changed that, at least over here on the western part of the United States. Police officers are no longer required to accept a private person's arrest. They are also required to make sure that there's enough probable cause to make the arrest, which LAPD hasn't been doing. As we know, there's been many false arrests. And you know what they've been doing is saying, well, we have to take it. It's a private person's arrest. No, BS. Since 2003, that is not true. If you're a victim, let's say you're a victim of a misdemeanor, maybe let's just say battery, somebody slapped you, right? And you want to place that person under private person's arrest. You know, if the officer who responds to the scene has probable cause to believe that, in fact, a battery did occur, then they should take that private person's arrest. But because of the law, they actually aren't required to. And in a case like that, you're getting into an issue with, you know, dereliction of duty, maybe. So, but yeah, you know, police officers should be accepting them. They really should be if the probable cause exists and they feel that it's a good arrest.
I agree with that. I you know, anytime the way it worked here in Michigan was if it's not a felony arrest, but you have the evidence and you've done the proper investigation into it, that you can prove that this happened, or you can prove it within a reasonable doubt that this occurred, then you can make an arrest on a misdemeanor. Felonies are completely different, because if it's a felony and you have felonies are a lot of the same way, but it carries a lot more if you refuse to do a felony arrest on a complaint.
I forgot to add that yeah, and in California, and I'm sure it's same with your state, was if it was a misdemeanor that was not committed in the officer's presence, it would require a private person's arrest to arrest the person.
Now, see, what they did in Michigan was to be able to amend that so that pretty much anything could be. They moved pretty much every misdemeanor into the 93-day category or more, which gave you the ability to arrest on the basis of a proper investigation, even if it didn't occur in your presence. So that was one of the things that they did. But those also still fell within the regime of it was the officer's discretion as to whether or not they would make that arrest.
Yeah.
So,
and felonies don't require a private person's arrest. Police officers out here in California, they can arrest anybody on a felony without private person's arrest.
A felony is a completely different animal, all in of its own.
Yes.
Absolutely, Jason. The current dissension and infighting amidst the protesters and is giving OSA and COS that break they wanted, in my opinion. I agree. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be only a, you know, a very small number of people that are driving all this hate and discontent. So yeah, that's why people need to think for themselves, find out the facts before you start making judgments.
Yeah. And Mona?
Exactly. I'll
Chadwick?
just ditto that one.
Yeah, I agree. It's a small group of people.
I'll go a little bit further. I think that a lot of dissension and a lot of comments and a lot of accusations being thrown, if you're going to do those things, have proof of what you're saying. That's going to be a big thing. And you also have to remember, everyone makes their own friendships and alliances. That's how it is. All right. And the fact is that everybody's going to go the way that they want. The way that I do it, and I put it out there before, number one, ain't nobody telling me who I can or cannot be friends with. No one is going to tell me who I can or cannot be associated with. All right. If someone may have done something you don't like, or they've done something that you think is a wrong act on their part, but they haven't done it to me, it's not affecting me, then you can't just come to me and say, I need you to stop associating with this person because I don't like them or they did something I don't like. I'm not going to do that. All right. If someone is my friend, and there's someone that I associate with, I don't like I've said it in the last live stream. I don't walk away from friends like that. So that's just how I am. But on top of all that, if you want to be able to say something and go through and try to give me a reason why someone shouldn't be associated with, you need to bring receipts as to what's going on. I'm not just going to do it. I'm not a fair weather friend. I don't believe in that stuff. So I'm trying to catch up here on questions and comments. Okay. Melanie, they have to go through so many steps to run a program on someone back and forth with Miscavige. Have you seen some of the spy files? We'll start with you, Mona, because you are intrepid investigator of all that is data. So
I have not seen physically the spy files on any of the recent stuff, but I've seen some of the historical stuff. And a lot of what do they call them, where they can tell a lie, the Scientologists tell a lie, and I can't remember what they call it, but anyways, yeah, they make up a lot of stuff to dead age and to make people look bad, and for you to not trust your trust or your faith in another person. And when you lose your trust in somebody, can I use an example?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind?
This
Okay, so Pinche Becky, with all of this that's been going on.
Oh, I hate her so much. You know, I never let her in my channel. I don't talk to her. I don't do anything with her.
Mi hermanita. So when you're looking at what she does for a living and what she does with the community to be the harm reduction specialist, whether she's certified or not, she was part of the pilot program. If she did give out a crack pipe or a needle, maybe that probably wasn't the best judgment. I'm not saying she did or didn't. I'm just saying if she did, that probably wasn't the best judgment at the time for the home, for the encampment, whatever. But does that mean that she wants to take down a whole mission of getting rid of Scientology? So you have to look at what is being put out there, use all of the information you have, and then make the decision for yourself. And that's the Church of Scientology wants us to jump and be judgmental and have judgment on somebody rather than think for ourselves and look at the big picture.
I agree. So Crepidus, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing. Becky denied giving any.
Cheryl, I would expect no less from you than being a lurker. So.
Yeah, so Becky is denied giving out needles and pipes over there at the camp. And, there's cameras running there 24/7. Not a single person has been able to show a shred of proof that she actually did that. And the thing is, there's harm reduction centers all over Los Angeles, and there's one that's actually close to Big Blue. These unhoused people can go there and get what they need as well. Those needles could have come from anywhere. So, show me the proof or shut up. That's what I say.
I agree with what Mona said. I think that if that did happen, which again, haven't seen any evidence that it did, I don't think that there was any kind of malice or want on Becky's part to do harm to anyone.
Yeah.
She's the kind of person that I have talked to her at length, and there have been people that I have not liked, and she's literally begged me, just please, just get, everybody has hard times. Everybody has problems. She doesn't have, if you come at her, she'll come back at you. But the fact is that everything that I've had from her has been nothing but she wants people to be healed. She wants people to be safe. And I would have no belief in my body whatsoever or in my mind that she was trying to cause any harm whatsoever.
Yeah. And
So
here's the thing I've been trying to tell some people is that, let's say for argument's sake, what if it was true? What if somebody did prove that she handed out needles? It's she wouldn't have done so maliciously if it happened. It would have been an error in judgment. It happens to everybody. If they had a problem with something they thought she did that was wrong, they should have pulled her aside in private, had a talk with her, and if they felt so uncomfortable, they should have just asked her to leave and leave it at that. There's no reason to drag somebody through the mud and all that other
have a
crap.
talk with them. Just
Yeah.
talk to them. That's I think that's one of the biggest problems here is the lack of communication.
Lack of respect and treating people with dignity.
Yeah. One MTOT, Scientology presented a counterfeit permit to LAPD, making a false report to LAPD, and basically knowingly had LAPD enforce the fraudulent permit. Before I have you guys jump into that, my personal thoughts on that, number one, is shame on it. That falls at the feet of the officers if they accepted it and enforced it for not checking to see if it was a legitimate permit. I mean, if it has all the bells and whistles it's supposed to have, then that's kind of hard not to believe. And also, it may not be that easy even for an LAPD officer to call up the department where that permit came from and get a correct answer on that. That's, but to, if they find out that it's not right and it's fraudulent, then why aren't they going after the people who presented it to them and presented it as a legitimate document? And I think that on that, I wouldn't expect any different from Scientology on that, but I would expect LAPD as a law enforcement entity to have some kind of integrity and do their job properly. That's my stance on that. And I think that there has to be, if it's proven that they're fraudulent and it's proven that, there was a false police report made on it, then there's two entities that need to be gone after. The LAPD, specifically, why the officers on why they did what they did. And then number two, on the person from Scientology who presented it. And if they made a police report on that, then you have a false police report. There should be some kind of enforcement going on there. God knows you're going to arrest a protester for disrupting or disturbing a religious ceremony, but you're not going to arrest someone for presenting a false document, a false government document, and for making a false police report. Yeah, that really doesn't sound biased at all, does it? Chad, what's your thoughts on that?
Right. Yeah. No. If it's going on, they should enforce the fake documents. They should get those people.
Absolutely, Mona.
They've caught them several times bringing out the permit application and printing it and putting in their own verbiage into the permit application in which they didn't have. Like right now it says, for an example, that the road is closed to traffic, not to pedestrians. And so, and I think the LAPD is finally catching on that, especially that one day when Henry said, how are you looking at this permit and be able to understand it? You're a police officer. I'm an engineer and I don't understand these damn permits. And they're like, yeah, you're probably right.
I'll tell you why. It's because they didn't watch Chris Shelton's explanation of the origins of dirt.
True. Very true.
They watched that. All right, so what is your thoughts on
Yeah. So, and Mona is correct. They have been caught before, kind of doctoring the document, to give to the officer in the field in the past. But there's a lot of cities out there that give police departments access to their permits portal where they can actually go look up the permit to verify things. I don't know if LA City does that or not.
You'd think that stuff would be available online for such a technologically advanced city as LA.
It
Mona
was
would,
until about a week ago. It was until about a
Really?
week ago, and then they closed the portal. So you
And
can't
then
look up the information anymore.
yep. And you know why? Because people have been looking up, protesters have been looking up the permits and catching them on bullshit.
Yep.
and LA just closes the door right on the common citizen and their rights. That's amazing, isn't it? Let's see here. Constance June, I saw the post by the blogger stating they were filling out FOIA requests. They did not say it was for people in our community, but it was at the same time that person was asking about info on for or on Rabbit. So you see, folks, I mean, this is why I question whether or not it's going to be from OSA or Scientology, and whether or not it's going to be from people within our own damn community that are doing these things. That's my problem.
Yeah, anybody doing a FOIA on me would, to look at my disciplinary record would probably be extremely bored. I mean, hell, I'm happy to share it right now if everybody wants to hear my disciplinary record. There's not, there's not much on there out of 34 years.
Same. I have literally sat here and told my entire disciplinary record.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it's that important to you, go back and look through my catalog of videos and you'll see it's in there. When I believe it was
Chad?
in the one where I said I won't be shut up. I won't be silenced.
Okay.
So Chadwick, you got something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if anyone looks up my history, they will see, if they go back to the 1990s, they will see my perfect attendance record in high school.
Chad was
that's
a good
it on the internet in real life.
Round nose. Let's see. Nisa, now in all 50 states, when there's an event and a street is blocked off, there's got to be room for emergency vehicles. Absolutely. The problem is when it comes under, construction, things like that. And here are times where that does not come into play. If you are, say, a plumber, something like that, and you're doing construction and you have to take out a portion of the street to put piping through, you can literally shut down the road to where no one can come through for the amount of time it's going to take to cut that road open to do it. Let's see. All right. Deanna Thornburg. OSA won't ever get a break as long as the survivors and never ends keep it up. The team has too many greatly determined to end this cult, in my opinion. I agree. I agree 100%. Let's see. I agree with this one. We have so many perspectives and life experiences coming into this mix. Keep this in mind. And if you have an issue with a person, go to them directly, talk it out. I agree. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's just, like I said, a matter of respect and treating people with dignity. That would have been the right thing to do. It would have been the moral thing to do. And anybody with an ounce of integrity would have done just that.
And let's see, Lori Marie, whoever approves those permits has been bought by COS. There's no doubt in my mind. I go back to, there's several different things that go into this. One is you have to know how to fill these permits out. That's going to make them be approved. Number two, you have to, I believe that there's a lot of financial investment into different organizations within the city, government itself, and dealing with a lot of those who are part of the different departments. And there's a lot of influence that's going on. So I just want to, that's my thoughts on it. We'll start with you, Mona. What's your thoughts?
I agree that those that are in the permit office probably have relationships, whether they're physical, sexual, whatever, but probably just physical relationships with people with the Church of Scientology, and they have for years. And, maybe they're financial. I don't know. But it's obvious.
Yeah, I think they're,
once you've done the permit process a few zillion times, like I'm sure they do, it's an easy process.
Like they say, being able to do it in your sleep kind of stuff. So once you learn the verbiage and the nomenclature, these are not hard to fill out. But for someone jumping in who's never done it before, they can be a bit of a process for you, because they're going to ask questions. They're going to want different documentation. They're going to want different elements to the permits that if you've never done it before, you may not know what you need to have in there. And it comes back to a situation of you don't know what you don't know kind of things.
Right.
So I agree with that. Chadwick, what are your thoughts?
I agree that, well, in my opinion, that the people doing the permits, whether they know it or not, has been bought off through back channels through the church.
Okay. So Grepetus?
Yeah, and one thing to think about is that the Church of Scientology, they have specific people that they like to go to that they know they can get favors from. The clerks that take in those permits many times may be being bypassed. For example, Kendrick Moxon taking the restraining orders right to that judge at a children's court because he knew that he can get them approved there. Excuse me. The same thing goes on too with the city. It would be easy for the Church of Scientology to go to a supervisor or somebody else they know higher up, give it to them, and then that supervisor go to the clerk and say, approve this. So, yeah, in a sense, yeah, people are being bought, I'm sure.
And I'm glad that you brought that up about the judge. That's a perfect example of how these things happen. You get a close enough association or relationship with an entity like City of Los Angeles, you're eventually going to start finding out who are the people you can go to circumvent certain things. And I think that's an excellent example. It happens in every state where they do judge shopping, where they're looking for the judge who's going to be able to give them what they want, or a judge who's more favorable to how they do things. I've talked about it. I don't know if I talked about it on live, but we had a young man that we arrested. He was intoxicated while driving. He ran from the police, caused a significant amount of property damage while running from the police. His mother, who was an attorney, showed up at the police department with a writ from a judge from some far out jurisdiction, but the writ literally said, release him without any bond or anything like that, free to go, and have notice sent to him on when his court date would be. And we couldn't fight that. I mean, I literally called our judge and I said, hey, what is going on with this? The judge just laughed and goes, yep, it's a friend of a friend. They knew that if they went to that judge, they could get that done. Well, this is a young man who was facing felony charges. Thankfully, our judge, who had jurisdiction, he said, hold them up as long as you can and send an officer over to my house right now. So I sent an officer over. Our judge ended up writing out a writ blocking that one. So, but these things happen, folks. You know who you can go to, you know what you can do, and you know the people that are going to be favorable to you. Here's one for Mona Lily. Question, Mona, do you believe that Scientology has someone working in the LA Council to be able to get permits so quickly and change so quickly? I think we went over part of that, but I don't know about working in the council, but working within the city. What are your thoughts?
There are people that are in the councils and the neighborhood councils that are Scientology people that are Scientologists, I should say. We know that for a fact. There are several of them because that's what they do, is they safe point. Now, working in the permit office, I don't know. That's beyond my pay grade, but the councils, yes.
Yeah, I agree. So Crepitus, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And Church of Scientology, they've got lots of tentacles, and these tentacles reach pretty far. They've been known to have people working for cell phone carriers, in the DMV, other government offices, you name it, and they do that by design. That's one of the things that L. Ron Hubbard made sure that his followers needed to do, and they're following it to the letter.
And here's another one I think is good for you, Secrepitus, from Deanna Thornburg. Henry Marini pulled up the stakes and netting today. Police tried to get him to sign a paper for trespassing. He said not going to happen.
Good for him.
What are your thoughts on that? I know in some states, if they present something like that to you and you refuse to sign it, you can be criminally charged. I don't know how it is in California.
Yeah, well, if it's a citation they're trying to issue him, then yeah, you have to sign it. It's not an admission to guilt. It's just a promise to appear on the court date listed on the site. I applaud him for actually pulling that up. I mean,
That took some cojones, didn't it?
yeah, that took some balls.
I like who was it that stood inside the planner?
That was Confident Chris. That was funny.
That was hilarious too.
Yeah. So, yeah, in Andrew's case, the only thing I would be concerned about is, what if the cult tried to accuse him of trying to steal it, which he didn't. He just piled it off to the side. He, maybe they would say, hey, he's damaging our property. Well, that easement is public property, and it looked like he was pretty careful about the way he removed it. So I actually applaud him. I think that's cool.
Yeah. And Chad, here's
I
what
agree
you
with
get.
this. Yep.
Yeah, but
I purposely missed one day each year so I would not have perfect record.
Yeah,
See, they weren't brown nosers like Chad.
I know, right?
I'm wondering
I got a newspaper article. That's why it captured in the Google, from 30 years ago. It captured some old newspaper article about perfect attendance.
Wow.
Yeah, shit, I lost my train of thought now.
That's what we're here for. Neuropsych 93. Someone has access to some data from someone. I have front groups on LinkedIn contacting me daily after I'm in a chat. How about you guys? But I mean, my emails and everything else get blown up on a daily basis. Today was the first day, and Sir Crepitus and Chad and I were talking about it.
I see you, buddy.
This is
Sorry.
Go ahead. This is one of the ones where we were actually. I was glad I didn't have a million emails. But what about you guys, Mona? Go ahead.
I get them blown up all the time, and I don't think it's OSA or anybody. I think it's YouTube. I think YouTube, we all put our information in there as users, and yeah, that's the whole sorts of data given out.
Chad?
It's funny you said that, and this is the same, answering the same question but from earlier. I know I earlier said that I don't think it's OSA, and I still don't, but now I could, because right before the stream I had I assumed it was my son, and it probably is. I had to block a $108 transaction for a video game right before the stream, and now I could blame it on OSA.
Yeah. So Crepitus?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? I've been paying attention to the chat. There's some people in here that were kind of causing some arguments, so I was just trying to nip it in the butt. So
Okay.
I didn't even hear the question. I really apologize.
That's all right. Here we got the next one. Laura went off. She wants her father. Understood. She said to the police to show her the permit. They decided she wasn't authorized to see it. Since when are they able to say who's authorized and who's not authorized to see a permit that's going to affect public easement?
It's public information. Anybody's authorized to see that stuff. The police are just being dicks. Pardon my language.
I agree. Mona?
I watched it. I saw it happen. Yeah, they were just being dicks.
And it's sad. I mean, I'm sure everybody here by now saw the one stream that one day when Laura saw her father over at Big Blue pushing a cart, and she was yelling out to him and saying she loves him, and that was such an emotional and powerful moment. And it breaks my heart to see the police do that to her, just for the simple fact, hey, she wants her dad.
Beyond that, Penjay Becky has a really good question here. I know that here, if things like that are going to happen, that permit has to be posted somewhere near or directly in where it's happening or at the entrance of it, to where it is publicly viewable. Is that how it works in California or not?
No, it's something that should be done, that could help nip stuff in the butt, but it's not a requirement, unfortunately.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Is it
is.
Mona? Am I wrong?
Yes, it is. They
Is
are
that a-
supposed to be posted in alternative, especially if they're going to close all 4 sidewalks, and they're supposed to signage alternative routes
Okay.
of
Is that a LA?
accessible.
Is that a LA City thing, or is
Yes,
that a
it
state
is.
thing?
Well,
Okay.
that's a federal thing and a city thing and a state thing.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
on our
that's like major.
yeah with our departments, we never ever or when I worked, yeah, we never ever did it, and we were told we didn't have to. So
Yeah, no, I
wow.
looked it up. It is an LAPD ordinance, is that they're supposed to post any type of event permit if they have a road closure or a sidewalk closure. Yeah, they are.
Chad, private chat. Take a look at it, please.
Sure.
Let's see.
And when they
I-
close it off, they're supposed to have an alternative route. I mean, if somebody, let's say, audit LA, that's what her bitch has been, is how am I supposed to know the road's closed? And there isn't a curb cutout on the other freaking side.
yeah.
Yeah. And
I
Mona, I'm
I
really
did.
glad you're here because you do all that research. So
Yeah.
you're
I-
here
I-
to help, guys.
Peter, I didn't see Enri's video. Did either of you see Enri's video today? They're live
I
today.
watched it to the end. He had turned it off right before they got there.
It was right before they got there, but they did show up.
Yeah, they
Okay.
did.
All right, just going.
That's when Lara yelled at him.
Oh, and they're don't like that name. So, folks, if you don't like someone, let's keep the chat respectable between everyone. Let's focus on what is our true goal here. Okay. Please, I appreciate it. Let's see. And someone sent me a message asking me to say something about people calling police cops in their questions or comments. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Never bothered me as a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
And I'm not making your feelings invalid on that. I'm just telling you, as a retired law enforcement officer, it doesn't bother me. I've been called much worse than cop. So, Sir Crepitus, your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't see his whole video, but I did see the part where he was removing them from the ground. He was careful about the way he did it. He wasn't ripping them out or anything. But yeah, if
And
Henry,
Lori Marie, I don't know I don't know if they had actual proper permitting for that or not.
nobody
but
found any permitting.
What's that?
Nobody found any permits for that. People
Okay.
looked before they closed down the portal.
And I find it interesting that they were able to go and tear those out of the ground, and it no one got arrested for it. So I mean, if they had actual permits, they had permission to do it, you would feel that LAPD would have certainly locked up anyone removing that stuff. So I mean, you're not just talking about the damage to the construction site, but also the malicious, we call it MDOP here in Michigan, malicious destruction of property. I don't know what they call it there in California, but you could have gotten 2 charges right on that one right there.
My only beef as a business owner, if it was a regular business owner, instead of all the COS and all the stuff that they were doing trying to inhibit the protesters, is that they did put money in the netting and the stakes and time involved in doing it for whatever purpose. You don't really know. If it was a normal business, then, I mean, do you really have the right to go tear all that up? I mean, we know why. We have the understanding of why, but
Here's
kind of.
I didn't know anything about this. I literally go on Facebook maybe a couple times a week. But do you guys know anything about a fake account for the My Tony Celebration of Life?
I've heard people talk about it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I went and took a look. I got rid of Facebook a long time ago, but I did go take a look, and there were some links that were posted on there that I was not about to click on because they were very suspicious. But yeah, it appeared to be a Facebook page to try to troll Natalie, which is
What kind of person is going to troll Natalie after losing her husband?
it's absolutely disgusting.
What
Yeah.
kind of piece of crap are you that you get enjoyment out of that?
Yeah. And
well, they clone accounts, and they don't necessarily hack them, but they clone them. And
Yeah.
so they there was 5 or 6 of them. I didn't go to any of them because I don't, but there were 5 or 6 of them that were cloned and asking for money.
Yeah. And KTP, we'd gone over that. Yeah. If you're doing work on your house and it's the kind of work that requires a permit, you got to put the permit right there in your front window so it's readily visible to anyone. And as Mona was saying, you have to post it for construction site stuff, don't you? So let's see here. I'm just getting down through the rest of these. Let's see. Trying to make sure we're not missing any good stuff here. I am so far behind. KTP, I agree. I think we've talked about that as well, about the hazards of what was going on with the netting and the spikes in the ground. I mean, honestly, who does that? I mean, who goes in and does something like that? I can understand if you could show some kind of landscaping thing or something like that where it's needed, but those literally look like they were stakes in the ground holding the netting above the ground. What purpose does that serve? I can't think of any. Can any of you think of any reason why that netting would have to be 6 to 12 inches off the ground?
Yeah, to keep them from putting tents on the grass.
I know that's what they're doing, but I mean,
it's the only thing I can think of.
If you were to do it as a landscaper, a lot of times they do it for bird seed, or not bird seed, but grass seed, and then they have the netting so that way the birds don't take all the grass seed.
I never did see
Come
grass.
on.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't. All I saw was the green stuff, but I thought that there was grass already there. Oh, and Jeffrey chimed in. He couldn't make it. He had to go out to Mojave. Understood, Jeffrey. Thank you for letting us know, brother. We appreciate you, and we'll get you back on here. That's it.
Probably let my hair down so that way it's long and I can pretend I'm Jeffrey.
There you go. I don't know, that fella's got some hair. Let's see. Cricket Cinema. I saw the fake Tony page today and reported it. Lots of nasty comments, so the word is out. Well, hopefully people are taking them to task.
Yeah.
Hopefully. You do something like that, my goodness. That's one of the things that really bothers me. That people feel that they are so anonymous and that they're so unaccountable in what they do online nowadays, that they do these kinds of things and they get real enjoyment out of trolling people, even in some of the worst emotional states a person can be in. And to them, it's fun. It's like the young man that just got sentenced to, I forget how much, I think he got 5 years in prison because he was swatting people. And while he was doing it, and he was on 911 with the police and the different agencies that he was calling it in, he was literally taunting the police and thought he couldn't be caught. And then when he gets in front of the judge, he's like, well, I was in a toxic group, and that's why no, you had fun. You thought you were untouchable, and you got caught, and you have no other excuse for what you did. So that kind of stuff, it absolutely kills me. Oh yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Right now, folks, if you're on Facebook and you're sending me friend requests, I'm literally not accepting any new friend requests right now unless I know the person personally and I can call and confirm it. I've had far too many people try to I've had far too many individual requests for friend requests where they've tried to hack my Facebook account. So I've had to put a kibosh to that for right now. But if I know you personally, we've spoken, and I can verify it with you, yeah, I'll take the friend request. But if you send me one and I haven't responded, please do not be insulted. It's literally, I get flooded with these things every day. I'm looking at 5 to 10 new friend requests on Facebook. A lot of them, I look at it and they don't even have a single post on their page. But
Mhm.
or you have them that their account is like 3 days old, those kinds of things. So I just right now I've been putting a kibosh to it unless I know the name personally. Let's see. Okay. And Becky says the grass is well kept and didn't need reseeding. So I mean that would answer it right there. Kelly, you too, and Main Skin fan. Oh, what a night! I love that's a pretty little fur baby there. Scientology knows what they can do, whatever. No, Scientology knows that they can do whatever they want. They have LAPD and other police departments on their payroll. I can't argue differently. I mean, the evidence that we've had presented to us so far certainly makes me question it. So, what about you guys? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I saw it on the sheriff's department when Leroy Baca was our sheriff. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, you saw it personally.
I
Yeah,
saw it personally.
you had a sheriff who was deeply tied with a lot of things that were going on with Scientology.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, and
Uh,
Scientology was trying to get their programs into our academy. They were trying to get Narconon in our jails, and thank God, me and several other people yelled enough to the union that the union threatened to file lawsuits against the sheriff if he tried to do anything like that. And
right.
so, yeah, Scientology failed again. Never happened.
Let's see. And Miss Diva says, oh, look at that pretty little fur baby. Police told Emory last night, and I keep saying Emory because I have several people I know whose last name is Emory. So that's why I keep tripping up on that. Last night that they were going to seed the lawn and that COS maintains it.
Right.
You still got to have some kind of, like it's been said, I think KTP just said it and a couple of other people said it, that when you do something like that, the liability of someone getting injured, getting out of a vehicle and stepping onto that stuff or stepping onto one of those stakes, the liability that's there is absolutely ridiculous. So that's what do your guys' thoughts? Anybody?
Yeah. My thoughts pretty much echo yours, John.
Yeah.
Same
What
here.
did there we go. Jeffrey said something here. The nets on the ground look to me like Scientology getting so ready to crawl under during a live fire exercise. If you're not former military, you may not understand that, but that's the drill where they make you jump down into the sand and
The
belly
Sea
crawl.
Org. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
we had to do that. I don't know how many times, and they had barbed wire above you, and they had the what was it? The M30s or M60s were going off above us. Live fire. We had to do it daytime. We had to do it nighttime, and the nighttime one was the really freaky one because they were using the tracer rounds, so you could literally see those glowing rounds going over you. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
that Sunday I was out there, I saw the nets in person, and the netting was maybe 6 inches off the ground. I was thinking, I think David Miscavige could totally walk right under there or crawl if he wanted to.
Yeah, I think he could probably walk under there. He has to look up to step up onto a curb. So I believe that. Corrine C, what are you talking about? The funds that are credible is the GoFundMe. What did I miss on that one?
Must be for Natalie.
Could be. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cinderella re-victimizing the victims is sick. I think there's no excuse for that whatsoever.
Yep.
None. Okay. Peter Anderson, the green net was constructed in what the city defines as the parkway is defined as the area of the street between the back of the curb and the sidewalk. That's what we've been talking about. That's in pretty much every jurisdiction I know of, they call that an easement. And so that's not, it's crazy. Let's see. Trying to get down through here. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things people have been doing is they've been looking them up, KTP, and apparently they've shut down the portal, so you can't pull up the permits anymore. Mona, I think you were the one talking about that, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
that's what it used to be. You could go on there and then click on it and it opened up and tell you whether it was paid, when it was applied for, all the different details. And now it'll show the main permit, but it doesn't go into any detail whatsoever. It doesn't
Well,
say what it's for or the sidewalks or anything like that.
and does it matter to you? Not to me. COS, NN, what is that? Anybody know what NNs means? Will do anything they can to safe point their local law enforcement and mayor's office. So yeah, we've heard nothing but talk about that from so many people. To there's no reason to question that at all. That's a very interesting one to Advanced Studio. I think that would be more suited to an attorney. If they have the permit, it's theirs or their liability. My personal thoughts would be if you pulled the permit to do the work, it would turn into your liability. But, a crafty attorney is going to go, well, why wasn't the city out there inspecting it to make sure it's safe in the first place? Sir Crepitus, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whoever's doing the work is responsible. Yes.
Mona?
Both are, I would say they were co-liable.
Okay. Chadwick?
I'd agree with Mona. Yeah, I think they're both liable.
Here's an interesting one from Bo Peeps, No Sheep, Bo Beats, No Sheep. Mona, I also asked Sir Crepitus on another stream, do you know anything about Bill 1193? It requires hotels to post a large anti-trafficking poster at entrance for, e.g., an example, Celebrity Center. Now, is Celebrity Center considered a hotel?
That was my thought, is that it may be a place where people stay to lodge when they go to do their auditing and stuff, but I don't think it's a public hotel for public use. I think it's a private lodging establishment. And so whether 1193 would fit for that, I don't know.
I personally think it would have to be something like an actual licensed hotel, state approved and licensed. Sir Crepitus, your thoughts?
Yeah. Celebrity Center. It's kind of like the Fort Harrison Hotel and even the Free Winds. People go there to do some of their Scientology stuff, and then they get in the wind. It's just not a public hotel.
Okay, so I don't think that it would apply if it's not an actual legally licensed hotel. That may be one of the things that's the reason why it's not there. Kelly, you too, and Mainskin fan. Why is Scientology allowed to put those big concrete planters on the easement? People who park cannot get out of the passenger side safely. I've been thinking about that as for like with the big wooden planters and all. What are your guys' thoughts on how they're being allowed to do that? Are they getting permitting for that?
There is a document. It's LA blah 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 blah. I can't remember the name of it, but it shows how all the sidewalks can be used throughout the whole LA area. It's basically a roadmap to show what can and can't be done. And
Okay.
the planters that are within the red zones are probably illegal. The ones, if they're near a curb cut, those are illegal. But there are some that are perfectly fine over there. I mean, you see them as long as they're still 36 inches leeway. I mean, there's just most of them are legal within their sidewalk law, what the sidewalks can do. Again, I can't remember. I mean, I think I've got it bookmarked. But they've got to where they had a whole committee, a whole meeting of people brought together how to do roadways and sidewalks.
Yeah, it's the links they'll go to. Sir Crepitus, what do you think on that?
Yeah, again, Mona, I would say she's definitely more of the expert on that one. One thing I did want to say, and I'm sorry to go off topic just a little bit, going back to how Scientology, you know, buys their way or buys their influence, you know, with the law enforcement agencies and cities and stuff like that. You know, back when Leroy Baca was sheriff, anybody that donated, you know, it had to be a decent amount of money, but anybody that donated to his campaign would get this ID card, and it looked like an official ID card that would say Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Civilian Advisory Committee.
Wow.
And you know, we would make traffic stops, and people would flash it in our face. Oh, well, I'm part of the, you know, Civilian Advisory, and we knew, okay, no, you're not a part of anything. You just got that because you made donations, and I can guarantee you. um, Whoever was pulling the purse strings over at the Church of Scientology was probably getting that same ID. And I used to get complaints because when people would flash that in my face, that was a sure way to get a ticket. I'd be like, nope. And then they would threaten to call the sheriff. I said, good. Have Sheriff Baca call me. I'll be happy to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
It just made me sick.
Oh, it was like in the movie. Remember the movie Chips, where they, you know, the great non-Scientology attached person, Michael Pena, was in there, but they showed that one scene where the guy driving the Ferrari down the highway doing like 100 miles an hour, and he pulls out his gold card that he had. You know, a lot of departments have those kinds of things. Something I find even more frightening is the number of departments that have reserve or auxiliary officers that don't ever actually do anything, but they, you know, there was a city here in Michigan where they had a department of like 3 people, but had a reserve unit that had something like 70, 80 people. And they all turned out to be these big, like, I know there were some NBA players that were in it. There were some professional sports stars and all that. And they had made these big donations to the police department. They were given credentials as a reserve police officer, a badge, and they were given some kind of paperwork saying that they could carry a firearm concealed. And these things happen, folks. They really do. Don't think that this doesn't happen. It's a real problem. If you've looked at my content about the police impersonators and things like that, a lot of those folks have at one point been some kind of reserve or auxiliary police officer somewhere, and it really happens. Here's KT Peter brings up a really interesting point about accessibility, people needing accessibility, like ramps and things like that. You know, Mona, that would affect you directly. Do you know what kind of laws would be attached to that? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking ADA.
So if you were to, if you had a paratransit ride to
Mhm.
where, you know, the buses with a lift that come and help people go from one place to another, and they couldn't let that ramp down to let you off on the side, then so there has to be enough room in between the planters in order to be able to let that lift down.
Yeah, I
So-
would think so.
Right.
Or at least to be able to get the chair through. What is the standard width that is required for that?
36 inches.
I thought that was, but I didn't want to speak out of line.
Yeah.
Those planters do have some space in between them, but I don't know how much space.
Yeah, you would have to look. And I know that's one thing that Audit LA was looking at last night or the night before, was she was going to call the paratransit service and have them drop her off there just to be, you know.
Oh, that would be, yeah. Yeah. How do you go against that?
I shouldn't have said that, but yeah, there's supposed to be a certain amount in between, so that way you can.
What's LAPD going to do? Say, oh, well, you can just go right down the block and get out down there. Are they, you know, I would love to see what their reaction's going to be.
It cracked me up. I'm sorry but she was going back and forth on the soft closed side, and the guy kept telling her, she was talking to Jason, and he'd say, "You need to go faster," and she goes, "I'm going as fast as I can." She had it like in slow mode.
Oh, okay.
It was funnier than heck. I was
I,
cracking up. She goes, "Well,
I,
you're still my friend. You're still my friend."
how do you prove, how do you say, well, you should be moving faster, I mean, if, and I'm talking about like with LAPD, you need to move faster, and it's in her situation. How can they prove she's not, that she doesn't have
That
anxiety?
cracked my ass up. I laughed. I laughed. I laughed.
Here's something that I had heard about, but I didn't know how far to go on it because I had just heard it from like second, third party. I heard about it from other people. Bo Beats, No Sheep. I've heard the mention of unclothed children wandering about in the Blue Building. Could this be a trap for protesters to actually accidentally catch them on film and have them charged with CP? What are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, I'd heard something about it, but I don't know much more.
Yeah, I was actually monitoring a streamer's stream. Somebody who does it. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to, throw him out there. But he's a super good guy. He's out there all the time. He's a hard worker. He actually witnessed it, and I understood where he was coming from, but he was afraid to call LAPD because he was afraid that he would be accused of doing just that.
Yeah, I mean, that's some bad
Yeah.
stuff. You get if it's even mentioned about you being part of something like that, that has destroyed people's lives.
And
So,
to make it even worse, because it does get worse, I can't say too much, but I have firsthand knowledge that somebody did in fact call LAPD, and to the best of my knowledge, they never showed up.
Wow.
Correct.
Yep.
I think
I know somebody that called also, and you got to kind of think of it too. How many of us have had a 2 or 3-year-old stripped to nothing and run though?
Oh my gosh, yeah. My daughter turned into a track star the minute you tried to get her in the bathtub. My gosh. I think Amy, talking about the planters make it impossible for parents to get the baby out of the car safely. Unfortunately, it should be kind of equalized on something like that, where you have the ADA goes in, it has jurisdiction on this, but also some kind of safety as it comes to children as well. But I think the best way to go at this one is the ADA route.
Well, the biggest problem is with the Americans with Disabilities Act is who adjudicates that is the Department of Justice. Or in the LA's case is they have a committee on disabilities, or it's a very small, like a little commission, and they take complaints, but there's no enforcement of ADA. Truly, there isn't. So the best way to do it is for her to hop into a paratransit bus, get left out, and go, I can't even get out of the dang bus.
I can't get out of the bus, or they have to let her out on the street, and now she's on a street that's closed off. She can't get out of the street. What is she supposed to do?
That's exactly what that's the only thing that can happen.
I think the most pertinent question that has been asked today is, has it been proven that Clearwater Chad is OSA? Just kidding. He's so quiet.
Who's got the
yeah, Chad, how long have we been dealing with that?
The whole time, about 1.5 years.
Yeah. That's the thing, folks. From day one, because of your parody of an Andy Kaufman character playing an OSA agent, people have that's how good you did it. People actually believed that you were an OSA agent. But yeah,
I haven't stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Hey,
we go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just real quick, I don't know if you noticed, Eric Rader is here in the chats. I don't know if you noticed.
Eric.
Yeah,
Eric Rader's in the chat. Eric Rader.
If there's anybody in the chat that doesn't know who Eric Rader is, we should probably put his link up there. But what a good guy. He's out there every day humping, pounding the pavement. And I don't mean humping literally, but he's out there really, really putting in the effort. And what a good guy he is. So it'd be nice if people can go to his channel and subscribe.
I'm trying to. Okay, there we go. Because there's several Eric Raiders out there. I remember when I tried to find it.
Yeah, it should be like BS Incinerator. At
Yeah,
BS Incinerator. Yeah.
I've got it. I'm putting it up here right
Great
now.
guy.
There we go. And folks, if you don't know, this is Eric's channel. Make sure you get over there, show him some love. You know, that's the thing. You got somebody that's out there doing it every single day, doing it. It's, you know, like I've said, hardly anybody's really making any money off this stuff. You know, so a lot of people are doing this, you know, out of pocket to try to help with the SPTV community. And so you know, show them some love, show them some support. Let's see. Yeah, I'm a bit Julie B, if you can't keep your children clothed at a so-called church, my question is why would they be unclothed?
But okay, so but it was a child's event, and they have the slippy slide, and they have the bouncy houses and the food,
Well,
and
see,
you have a
put some
2-year-old.
context to it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say,
No.
let's give some context.
Yeah, but as a side note, there were a lot of adult males running around, and if I remember correctly, the streamer said that this was a little girl. You know.
I'm going to look this up right now.
Oh wow, that would be awesome if that's the case.
If this is the
Yeah, that would be cool.
This is the truth. And this is from Caroline in Canada. Comment, big news. Philip Jones said the Scientology org was raided by immigration in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Please,
I'm
let it be true.
looking it up right now, folks. See if we can find anything.
Please let it be true, because if it's true and they find criminal conduct, that may snowball. And man, can you imagine?
Let's see. I'm not seeing anything as of yet.
If it's true, we could say that we broke the news on Poe on the Go.
Thank you.
Well,
Caroline.
no, I think Eric broke it, but
Okay.
I'm looking up Hamilton, Ontario news now because I looked up Scientology, but nothing there. Let's see. Trying to find anything. And it may very well not get covered. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing right yet anything. You guys go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah. So for those of you that have never watched Eric, he does. He goes out there. He does his flyer tech. He comes up with some really, really great flyers, and he takes them all over the place to all kinds of public places. He posts them all over the place. You know, trying to get the awareness out, and that's Eric's inspired me. That's what I'm going to be doing here. Woo, pretty soon. You can't see shit. Okay, but it's actually pretty cool because you know he's doing it in places where it's getting a lot of foot traffic, and you know, people are going to stop and look at that stuff. So it's a good tactic.
Important. Oh, let's see. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm looking through the different news groups that they have over there, see if I can find anything on it so far. And again, it may be suppressed for all we know. We know how they like to do those kinds of things. So minute I find anything out, I will definitely try to get that out there for everybody and put what I can about it. Does anybody have a way of contacting Phil Jones?
Yes, I know he's got a weird channel name. So Caroline, what is his channel name?
Yeah, if you could.
I was just trying to look it up under Phil Jones, and it doesn't.
Here, John, I'll send you the text.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Or
all right.
the link.
And look and see if anybody's got any comment about it in the chat here. So
it's in the private chat there.
And Chad, Bo Beats says, for the record, never thought you were an OSA. So
no, thank you very much.
Oh, cool. All right, let's see here. Is he live right now, or did he just do it?
Oh, actually, there's a link. I was able to post it.
Let's see how long. Okay, this is a 13-minute, 39-second video, folks. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up and show it. See what he's got to say. I mean, I'm really interested in hearing what's happened here. So this is if you guys want to stay with us here, and also I will put up about his channel and everything, so you guys see it a little bit better. Let me clear that one out. Where is it? There we go. All right.
Thank you, Sir Crepitus.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to wait just to say where we are. We are in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, at the sign. I'm sorry, I don't have my gimbal, so it's a bit shaky, but this is a really amazing thing we just found out. So let me flip this around here. This is the Scientology CLO building. And this is...
Okay, first off, anybody find it kind of weird? They've got an actual Judeo-Christian cross on the front of that building instead of having changed it out with the typical Scientology cross.
Yeah.
Where the management is for Scientology Canada. And I stopped a couple of neighbors. I talked to maybe four or five neighbors that walk by. There's a trail here, and they walk down the trail, and there's an incredible view here. This is overlooking Hamilton here, the Hamilton Harbor, and it's quite beautiful here. So I was chatting with one of the neighbors, and he's lived here and for some time, and he was telling me that a little over a year ago, 5 Canadian immigration vehicles showed up at this Scientology building, armed immigration, and raiding the Scientology building. How we didn't know about this, I have no idea. I didn't see it in the news. We have not heard anything about this, but this neighbor witnessed it.
I think that's one reason why we're having a little trouble finding anything on it, is because it was a year ago.
Oh,
Right.
But this
okay.
is very interesting.
He was walking down this trail. They pulled up to this building, 5 cars, immigration, fully armed, which for Canada is pretty incredible, and raided the building. It's like, that's bizarre. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that some human trafficking thing going on. Maybe now these cars, apparently they had Quebec plates on them. So maybe they reg somebody from the Quebec org for the CLO, the Sea Org here, and somebody complained and said, maybe it was somebody they brought over from Europe. Who knows? But it was huge when he was telling me this. I'm going, you were here, you saw this? He said, yeah, I saw. There was 5 cars, I think 10 officers, all armed, coming out and immigration raid in Canada of all places. Like, mind you, Canada, Scientology is a human trafficking cult, and they'll hold passports on people too. So, if anyone got wind of that, sorry, I'm shaky here. I don't have my gimbal on me here. We just kind of arrived here. When we first arrived here, there were 2 Scientologists out on the street. So I walked up to them, and we were holding our phones. There were 3 or 4 of us protesters, and they took one look at us and ran inside, almost ran. And I told them, close the curtains, the blinds, and everything. These are Sea Org people, confront. The one guy, I told him, I said, hey, your grade 0 is out. Ability.
All right, I'm gonna end it there but that's very interesting. If that is what happened, that's amazing. I'm also very interested in finding out what's going on, why we can't find anything on it. So, Crepitus, have you found anything about it?
No, and let's not forget the wheels of justice turn very, very slowly, and these federal agencies like to keep things quiet. So,
yeah, true.
Who knows?
You figure it would have at least got some media time. And folks, if you're interested, I looked it up, and this is the Google on it. and it shows Church of Scientology. It says it's called the Continental Liaison Office, and that's in Hamilton, Ontario. I'm going to go to the satellite view on it. I'm going to pull us in on there real quick so we could take a look there. And, you know, from right here, it looks like it's the same building. It looks like we can see where they were sitting and they were filming from. It looked like someone was doing some chalk tech out there on that sidewalk. And if we come over here, now what I found interesting is when I'm looking at that building, well, that's interesting. You notice how it's blurred right there?
Yep.
Were they trying to blur out the religious symbol? I wouldn't surprise me for Google.
I don't know that. Look at that.
Interesting.
Wow. It's visible here, but when we come up this close, there it is. But yeah, once you get up close, like, oh my gosh, look at that.
Right. Yeah, looks like a Scientology building to me. It's all run down.
I don't know about y'all, but I think that's a flap. What do you think, Mona?
I think that's a flap.
I think that would also be considered some kind of hazard. My
That's all
goodness.
I see is stairs. Are you kidding me?
Oh, and look at this right here. Look at this stonework right here. Look how pretty that is.
Yeah, look at their handicap ramp on the other side where you're showing me. Go back to the other side.
Oh, over here.
Crosses.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
their handicap ramp has stairs.
Wow.
You can get your,
Wow.
you can get your chair up that, can't you?
Sure.
Yeah,
No
just gotta
problem.
cover
You're not competent enough to take your chair up them stairs.
That's crazy.
I could come down pretty easy.
Yeah, I bet you could. Let me see. I'm going to take a look around the rest of the building here and see if we've got. Nope, there's nothing I would consider some kind of ADA accessible kind of ramp. So,
Well, except for they're Canada, so they don't have ADA. But you
well,
know,
don't they have something similar there that would fall into that category?
similar.
What I'm
Except for
really.
even in America, churches don't fall under ADA.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Is that
They
the
don't.
only
They don't have to
signage?
abide.
That's crazy. Everybody should have to abide by it.
Nope.
But the only thing I'm seeing close to signage is right there. There's looks like a piece of printout paper. The way it looks to me, it looks like printout paper that's been taped or glued to the door.
Yeah.
But I see nothing else indicating Scientology here. And I take it that Phil was sitting in this area right here because the way he was looking, you could see someone over here doing chalk tech right there on the sidewalk. It looks like there's been quite a bit there as it is. So that's really interesting. Maybe we should just do a live one day where we're just going around and pulling up all of the COS places around the world and see how they look. I
I know ADA front and back. Churches are not under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is
California may have a different law, but federally they are not under ADA.
Yeah, Mandy Beach said they do in California. So
All right. So
let's
what
go.
I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up my video from Scientology Battle Creek and show you all how that looked. Just to give you an idea of how it is that they take care of properties. Now, this is where they had the Enchanted org event that they put on some gala yesterday. But I'm going to walk you through this. This is how it looked there. And it was really surprising.
Everybody, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Yeah, we've all heard
Sorry,
that
I've been
before.
out here talking for about 5 minutes and realized I hadn't even gone live yet. So this is the Hart Hotel.
Now, if you watch as I'm walking along there, you can see, even as you know, even not focusing in on it, you can see things like the separation in the fascia and things like that. And
In Battle Creek, out here with Bobby Joe Kellogg from at Battle Creek Squirrel Squad. Now take a look at this door here. It looks like they literally took this door and they just threw like some mudding on there or something. Horrible. Look at the beautiful marble work here on the wall. But then you take a better look and you see, look at this garbage here. This is sad. Look at these copper stripping up and down these walls of beautiful marble. Then you come across, and what do you got? Look at this door. All right, I got a question. David Miscavige, what the hell are you?
I didn't even look at it, but look at this roof up here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Right.
my goodness, this is a place someone just donated $5.5 million to turn this into an ideal org. That ridiculous. I mean, you know, and you can go back and check through and the videos there. No neuropsych. No one was living. There was no one in that building. Let's see. KA Michigan churches don't all have ramps either. I had no idea that churches were exempt from the ADA. I really did. I had no idea.
It's too bad.
Yeah. Let's see.
As I said, state laws can be put in place, but the federal law is they're exempt.
Okay.
You would think they would
Yeah.
want to be
You would
compliant.
think so. I mean, in Scientology, you're considered a degraded person, aren't you, or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
So, you know, and Mandy Beach says, I was involved in the building of a church 15 years ago, and we would not be given permits unless we met ADA requirements for every insight. That's awesome to know that. And I'm glad to hear that church states can come in and say your religious exemption doesn't matter. You
Right.
have to follow ADA or the state's ADA. I think that's how it should be. You know, there's just certain things that, you know, religious exemption should not have anything to do with it. Lady Bynum, that roof, I didn't even realize it till just now when I was watching my own video because I was too busy, you know, talking my head off. And I didn't even look up at that awning that was coming out and how dangerous that looks. That could be a possibility for some of them neuropsych, but I think that they should have to. Don't museums and historical buildings have to become ADA compliant in other regards, Mona?
Only when it's financially feasible.
Really?
And a lot of churches don't have the financial feasibility or the structural feasibility in order to make them. But churches are exempt from a lot of federal laws.
Yeah, we're finding that
They're
out.
exempt. They're
Yeah.
exempt from employment laws. They're exempt from all sorts of stuff.
What did I miss, Sir Crepitus?
Oh, well, Steph 22 years sober was making a comment about Dave Miscavige. I was
Oh, yeah, I saw that one. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Grandma Matilda, my church installed ADA ramps, parking, etc. I guess I thought it was mandatory. I'm glad they cared for our members. Absolutely. If the church,
That's
you
right.
know, I mean, I can understand there's a lot of churches that are absolutely dying as it is. And they just don't have the money anymore. I mean, there's many churches I've heard of that are literally on the verge of closing their doors because they just don't have enough people. Right down the road from me here, there's a small church, but all the ministers who come in and preach at it are all volunteers who come in from other churches to do so. So I understand. I mean, I could see churches that don't have the money, but how many churches have people that own contracting companies, things like that, that could literally come in and build it for them? I've seen lots of churches where they will go in and volunteer the time and the construction, and you know, other people volunteer the money for the materials and things like that. So I mean, if it's a decent sized church, one way or another, they should be able to get it done. Let's see here. Okay. SPTV never ends. I've been in a wheelchair for 22 years and have been to plenty of churches across the country and then never been to one without a ramp. I you know, apparently that's a real thing that happens. I'm not doubting you at all on that. I think it'd be horrendous to show up to try to go and worship and find out you can't even get in the church. Let's see. I'm just going back through some of these. And KTP does swear she's not drunk. So, if you see how I type, it's crazy. Yeah. All right. So we're at 2 hours. I didn't even realize we're that far in already. So starting with you, Chad, any closing thoughts here?
Oh, just this was great, Poe. I learned a lot.
Okay. Mona?
Sorry for taking up so much time. I didn't mean to be so blabby,
But
thank you.
Ask you to join if we didn't want to hear what you got to say. So
Thank you for inviting me. I always appreciate being able to talk about LAPD and permitting and always
Think
get
about
good
it.
information.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're now on the level with Jeffrey Augustine as it comes to knowledge about all this stuff. So you're up there now. You're a fancy
Smart
one.
one.
Yeah. Sir Crepitus, any closing thoughts here?
Well, just everybody, thanks for coming. Thanks for sticking around. And this is off topic, but let's try to remember to treat each other with kindness and respect and dignity. I'm talking about protesters in general. I mean, throwing people under the bus, so publicly is just not right. If we have a problem with somebody, we should be talking to them about it discreetly and privately, and not airing all that dirty laundry. All you're doing is you're feeding Scientology, and you're hurting the community. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Folks, the thing is that we have to keep our eyes on the prize. If I know that every one of us here on this panel tonight get confidential information sent to us about people that are in the anti-Scientology movement on a daily basis, we don't put it out there. If there's something I think is damning enough that it needs to be addressed, I'm going to ask the person that it's about. And I'm going to ask them, here's what I heard. You can either talk to me about it or not, but I just want you to know what's going on with this. Our goal is shutting down Scientology.
That's the side I'm on.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And if we are not focused on that, we're focused on every other thing going on around that is not advancing that. How are we claiming to be anti-Scientology?
Yeah.
That's the simple point. Writing umpteen number of blogs about how Aaron Smith Levin is a mean person, that advances our cause? Not. It does nothing for it. Going after other channels, going after other people, none of that advances the cause. All right. Our focus, I personally feel it is far more important to stop the abuse of children, stop the SA of children, than complaining about someone I don't like. I think that truly shows me your priority in life, that it's more important to go after someone because you don't like them or you don't like something they said or something they did than stopping the abuse of children. That's my viewpoint on it. All right. You can have that viewpoint. You can have a different viewpoint. You're free to have that. But that's my viewpoint. All right. Go ahead, Bill.
No, sorry. No, after you're done, I just got one other thing I got to do. Go ahead.
Oh, you got something else to say?
No, well, here, I'll just go ahead and post it. I'm posting a link in the chat. This is to a shared drive on my Google Drive.
I didn't know if you wanted me to post that since it was on your shared drive.
Okay, no, it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, people can download what they want from there, but if you go in there, there'll be if you live in California, there's a tutorial in there for about private person's arrest laws in there, and yeah, there's some copies of some flyers and other stuff in there you can take a look at. So
I
help
think we're
yourself.
gonna have to do a live specifically about the PPAs at some point here,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people have a lot of questions. And so, and folks, as always, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. The time you spend with us, you never get back. So hopefully it enriched your life in one way or another. It's very, life rushes by so quickly nowadays. And especially at 55 years old, it seems like time is gone like that. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. But remember, we need to focus. We need to keep our eyes on what the goal is here. And as always, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.